Hey there guys, what's going on? Tyler here with your movie fix, and today we're going to be looking at Avengers Age of Ultron. Bruce Banner and Tony Stark have been working on an AI peacekeeping program, Ultron, in hopes to end the need for the Avengers. It goes horribly wrong, and now it's up to the world's mightiest heroes to stop Ultron from being humanity's savior. Now, my general impressions on Age of Ultron: I really love this movie. I admit its flaws, and I know it is a flawed movie, but it is my favorite MCU movie, and I do think it's better than the first Avengers movie. I'm sorry, that's just how I personally feel. I just think this movie's a ton of fun. I think it has a lot of great character moments, and it has a very unique, interesting villain. Also, something that I love about this movie is the atmosphere. It's just what they were able to do with the color grading and then these oranges and reds, these hues to what the movie is. Even the Blu-ray case, which I got that the other day, like it comes in like this red Blu-ray case, and what the poster is and the advertising for what this movie was, they made it out to just be this bleak, like kind of a hopeless movie, and I did get that vibe, especially with the way that Ultron and Scarlet Witch, they made their mission to tear apart the Avengers, and that was prevalent all throughout the movie, and just something about the feel and the dourness and just the atmosphere in general for this movie, I really enjoyed it. And I think Age of Ultron did a great job at continuing to make these heroes very likable, and they just did a great job at fleshing them out even further. Specifically, like more with these great character moments, I really loved Tony and Thor going at it at the big party that they had, arguing over Jane or Pepper being better, but the Jane is still better. I love that. I think Chris Hemsworth works so well. Maybe his movies aren't the biggest hits, but I adore Chris Hemsworth. I think he is so great. I even really enjoy the Thor movies, and I think he continued to play him really well. I think Thor had a lot of the humorous moments in this movie. And back at the party, continuing on with that, like each of the Avengers trying to pull Thor's hammer, that was just such an awesome scene. I really like seeing that camaraderie, them just hanging out and being friends. Everybody was getting along. It was a ton of fun, and even getting to see Cap, just barely budge the hammer. That was just pulled off really great. And going off of like with the science bros, with Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, them working together to build Ultron, trying to work on this AI with Jarvis, I really liked all that. I think they played it off really good, and we got to see more of what we got in the Avengers with Bruce and Tony working together. I like seeing that, and I like that we got more of it. I just think they have a great chemistry. Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr., I just think they work really well together, and it came out in a very fun way to me. They just have a very organic relationship. And I can't ignore the Hulk and Hulkbuster fight, everything going on with Veronica and the Hulk. I like that we got a tease at the beginning of the movie. He's about saying, "Don't be jealous," or something that I came up with Veronica. Whatever. I really like that. I like that fight. I think a lot of people were waiting to see that. They were advertising that very heavily, and the fight was a ton of fun. Even when Tony loses his arm and he starts punching him with like the pneumatic fucking arm, punching him in the face. That was so great. And I like that fight set up some of the consequences for what's going to be in Civil War. It was more of that world building in the film for, the consequences of the Avengers acting unilaterally, like Batman v Superman. The consequences of that are going to be, there needs to be government intervention. Somebody needs to watch over this. We can't continue to let these incidents happen with the Hulk or with the Avengers. Like, somebody's got to watch out for these guys. And I like that specific incident was an eye-opener for Bruce Banner, and knowing that maybe I can't stick around. That's why he ends up leaving at the movie, like, I can't continue to let this happen. This is really bad, and I gotta go. Now, this movie does have a pretty vocal minority of haters, because this movie is sitting at 75 and like 84% respectively from the critics and audiences. So this isn't a bad movie. It's the lower tier Marvel movie, but like I said, it has its flaws, and I love it. But I do want to talk about some of the more controversial things in this movie, such as Ultron. A lot of people had issues with the way Ultron, I guess, was characterized because of the preconceived notions of what Ultron is supposed to be from the books. They felt like he maybe wasn't menacing enough. They didn't like his jokes that he was throwing out there. I really liked Ultron. He worked a lot for me. He had a couple of moments that I didn't like, such as when Scarlet Witch asked, like, "Are you going to destroy the Avengers?" Like, "I'm here to save the world." And that too, like, just kind of jokingly, like, "Yeah, I'm going to kill the Avengers." I think that's like the one specific thing I didn't like. But yeah, he took up a lot of personality from Tony Stark, so he's going to be a little snarky, he's going to have that attitude, and I didn't really mind it. But I do have, like I said, he's a very unique villain. Like, we have this intelligent robot, like, it sounds ridiculous. I mean, pitching that idea to somebody that I want to have an evil robot be the villain of the movie. And it works because, like they say, Ultron can't tell the difference between saving humanity and destroying it. Like, he doesn't know. He thinks that it's one or the other. Like, he has to destroy it in order to save humanity because they're just going to destroy themselves. He's corrupt. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's kind of like a child. He's very intelligent and he has unlimited resources, but ultimately Ultron's a child in this movie, and it does show. I think Ultron started out very strong all throughout it until the final act, and then there was just a certain point where he became very detached from the story. The Avengers were doing everything they could to mitigate the damage going on in Sokovia, and what the hell is Ultron doing? They're fighting all his robots, and he's just not on screen for like 25 minutes, just nothing to do with Ultron. And next thing you know, he's in the jet shooting people. This robot is piloting the jet, shooting at people in Sokovia. Like, he just got so disconnected from the story. And that's I think the weakest point of Ultron. But other than that, I really loved him in this film. I just felt like we could have done more with him, and that's kind of leading into my second problem with the film, or one of the more controversial things, was the use of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Now, I do like them. I do like them in this film. I think both of Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson did a really good job at playing them. But I mean, how necessary was it to use these characters that we know are supposed to be mutants? And this is just speaking as a comic book fan. It really is, because to all the other people, they're just like, oh, cool, more people, like these metahumans, these miracles in the movie. Like, they just accept it as, oh, they're more Avengers. They're more people, they're more characters. But were they really necessary? I guess if you didn't use them, maybe you wouldn't have had Sokovia be a setting in the movie. But you also had, Baron von Strucker, who was in Sokovia, so that could have still led to Ultron going to Sokovia, using his technology and setting up shop there in his base. And you didn't have to have Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, although I did like them. And his death specifically, part of it worked because I love how emotional Scarlet Witch got at the death of Quicksilver. But Quicksilver actually dying and saying, you didn't see that coming, and then falling over, that was bad. It didn't really work for me in the movie theater. I was like, oh man, they did that. And I've seen it 3 times now, and it's not as bad as I remember. It's fine. But I just feel like his death would have been a little more effective if he just showed him getting shot and looking at Hawkeye the way he did and falling over and dying. But he had to throw in that, oh, you didn't see that coming. Like, yeah, that kind of killed me. But I don't know how necessary the twins were for this movie. But it's good to see Scarlet Witch kind of get a role in Civil War and going forward and being an Avenger. I just think if you took out the twins, you could have focused more on Ultron and focused on him being a better villain. And maybe we wouldn't have had, the subplots going on with making the twins Avengers and wanting them to be. And you could have fleshed out Ultron more. And also, back with the controversial things, that something that didn't work for people that worked for me was the Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff romance. Black Widow and Hulk. It worked for me, although it was out of nowhere, because this movie just starts and they now suddenly kind of have a thing. It worked for me, and I know there was all these weird sexist comments going on because of she had to go. They made her sterile when they were creating her in her, like, when she was becoming a spy, and she said, I guess you're not the only monster on the team. That's a bunch of horseshit. It's not sexist, whatever. I really liked Black Widow in this movie, and I really liked Hulk in this movie. I liked that they got bigger roles than the first Avengers. That's what I think they did. And the relationship worked. It did for me. And some people just have to get over the fact that it's not going to be like the comics. It's just not. I accept the fact that these are just movies. They're adaptations inspired by other stories. And I think it was a pretty, organic way to go, because she already kind of had that thing set up from the first Avengers. She was the one that recruited Hulk. They already had this working relationship that was very specific to them. And it was fleshed out in here, so it was fine. And I think this movie did have a lot of great action, especially the opening and everything going on. All the fight scenes with Ultron, with the Vision, all of that going on in the end. But I think a flaw, I guess, would be that the action in this movie was very long. I like the third act, the final, everything going on in Sokovia. That was so long, it was a little drawn out. But I'm watching an action movie. I'm watching a comic book movie. I want to see that. Like, it was fine for me. Objectively, I can say, man, that shit was long. But subjectively, my opinion, the ending in Sokovia, watching all the Avengers whoop all those robots' asses, it was great. It was fun. I liked seeing it all. And I think this movie was a little guilty of doing some of the universe building with the Hulk going off into wherever with the Quinjet, just going off and disappearing, to having the twins and setting up Scarlet Witch as an Avenger, and Thor going off in his whole weird mission to go back and relive that dream and go out further into it and see the Infinity Stones. Look, That's fine. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was out of place in the movie. He's Thor. He's a damn god. Like, he's going to do some weird stuff, and that was fine with me because I accept the fact that this is a franchise. This is a big franchise and the most successful one at that. So if they want to do some universe building within a movie, I just know that that's going to be happening in these Marvel movies or DC movies. It's fine. I have no problems with that. And I kind of like the fact that it wasn't just necessary for the Infinity Stones, but it was also a necessary revelation for Thor to understand that the Vision was going to be on their side. So yes, I do really, really enjoy Avengers Age of Ultron, so I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. And yeah, I know it's got some flaws, but like I said, this is my favorite movie. I have a ton of fun with it. I could probably rewatch this more than any of the other ones. I think it's just so much more fun, and I like the feel of it a lot more than the Avengers, the first one. So comment down below, guys, what did you think of Ultron? What did you think of this movie compared to Avengers? And what's your favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie? So anyways, guys, this has been your Movie Fix. Be sure to subscribe for more movie news, movie reviews, all that good stuff. It's been fun. I'll see you guys on the next video.